one finger over my control key to hot mute in case somebody walks in, as well as one hand on my beer. So let's get it.
I really need a soundboard to this intro because I feel like it's appropriate to have like a big round of applause to introduce Ranger, but we got Ranger.
Do you ever consider like doing it live on Twitch?
Yeah, we're definitely going there eventually. The thing is, I'm a lazy motherfucker, and yeah,
Twitch is lazy. Twitch is lazy. You just like fire up the Twitch stream when as soon as you're ready, do it, and then save the VOD, upload it to YouTube.
My number one excuse is that my hair looks bad all the time. Just because it does look bad all the time, but it does look especially bad right now, or else I would probably be streaming it.
That's what hats are for.
Yeah. I could grab a hat, but I'm way too lazy. Welcome everybody to the Beat Leaguers podcast. My name is Flynn. I'm joined by Stokes. We have Ranger as our guest because the man just reached out. He just, he's like, I'm gonna slide in these boys' DMs, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna come on. I'm gonna insert myself into your podcast. So welcome, Ranger, to the show. We've been recording the whole time, by the way. I just hit start recording, so that's the intro. Greatest intro of all time.
Of course.
How you doing today,
the first person to invite himself onto a podcast.
Yeah. Usually it goes the other way around, but we're also really lazy and really like not coordinated at all. We're really bad at planning things. So we always said we're like, yeah, we're gonna get guests. We're gonna do guests. It's the off season. Why the fuck not? It's the last day before the season starts for our podcast, and we finally have a guest.
You'll be able to get guests mid-season, I'm sure. There's people who love to talk.
Hopefully. I love those people who like to talk. Those are my favorite kind of people. So yeah, we're 4 days out, I think. 5 days, 4 days, 5. I don't know how to do math.
5 days out. NA, or at least NA starts on the 8th.
Yeah, NA starts on the 8th.
Everything starts on the 8th. So yeah, NA Tuesday, the 8th. Super months. How are you feeling about the super months? First off, Ranger, how's the team feeling? How are you feeling about this fucking nonsense of a month?
It was an interesting one because like a lot of people were really up in arms about the whole Pro League getting delayed. I know my team and myself, we were like, hey, no, we really don't want Pro League to be delayed. We didn't want the compressed schedule. But looking at it, I think it actually probably favors like some of the veteran teams that have spent a lot of time at LANs and stuff and have played the back-to-back days and like without the time to counter-strat and rebuild new stuff on a per-team basis. So I don't think it'll hurt us.
That's actually a good point because I brought up the counterpoint of that, which was I thought the teams that needed preparation or relied on preparation mid-season would probably struggle. But yeah, that is also a good point that at LANs you don't have that kind of time to spend a whole week fucking counter-stratting a team and looking at VODs. You kind of got to go in on a presumptuous
You got to learn
nature.
You definitely have to learn to prep for yourself instead of your opponent when you go to LAN environments. And I mean, that might be, obviously the whole LAN environment's its own thing, but it might be something that causes teams to play different when they go to LAN that people kind of forget.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm in the same boat. I really wish we could have had like a full-length schedule, kind of like we did last season, where it was normal, it was relaxed, it won't be the chaos that is going to be January.
At the same time, though, I always feel like Pro League's missing games, or not Pro League's missing games per se, but I feel like the scene doesn't have enough action a lot of the time. There's a lot of downtime in the scene, so I feel like it makes for a really hype month, and I'm looking forward to it, even though it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be hectic.
Well, I was going to let Stokes jump in, but he just muted himself. So
I'm
hot muting. Right,
yeah,
I remember the intro. Yes, you're hot muting.
I'm hot muting. I tried to tell you, Flynn. I tried to make you aware I was hot muting.
Focus the fuck up.
I don't listen to you. God.
You never do. You
sound like my players.
That's probably a bad thing.
Oh my god!
I think my first question would be, and this is one that I just thought of off the cuff last night. It was like 3 a.m. I was watching Netflix.
Of course,
and for some reason, this came to mind. The Siege GG Awards just came out, and there was no Coach of the Year award. How do you take that as a coach?
I mean, it's not like it's a big deal to me. I didn't see that there was no Coach of a Year award grab my heart and be like, oh, I'm so slighted. If I had to pick one, though, I'd give it to Shas. I mean, I think that's like a kind of a team-based award. Like, you have to look at what he was able to do, bringing Kanto in, keeping the team the same, but still changing what they were doing, kind of changing their approach, but still staying at the very top. Like, that's impressive to me. So. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of big name players. Those are people who could have egos. I don't know if they do, but like he found a way to like get all these all-star players together and mesh into roles and put people in support positions and work out of that. So props to him.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like people don't give Shas enough credit for that at all. I feel like they look at it and go, "Oh yeah, Fabian and Banger are the ones that made that move happen." And it's like, no, it's definitely Shas, and Shas is the one that has to work with all of them in order to make that chemical makeup work, and to have it transition so smoothly to where they just went straight back to winning everything is insane.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, who's to say? Like, I'm sure their teams are probably very different as far as how much impact the coach has, what the coach does, that kind of stuff. So, like, I want to give credit to Shas. I've talked to him every LAN we go to. I know he's a very smart guy. He's got a good mind for the game. He's actually really fun to talk to about that kind of stuff. So I'm sure he has a big impact. But from the outside perspective, I think for any case, it's always impossible to say really how much impact the coach has or what the coach does without being on the team or at least watching practices.
So actually, that'll lead right into the question I actually have for you, Ranger. I'm going to leave it a little bit open-ended so you can kind of take it whichever way you want. But from your perspective and you working with your team, what is your not main goal, but like your main priorities with your team when you're like day-to-day operations? Like basically, what is your job as the coach of Rogue?
I mean, I think one of the big things is just like making sure that they've got practice and practice is focused and everyone's there. So like everything from like I'll schedule scrims for them and that kind of stuff, but then just like helping stay focused during scrims. Like we record our scrims, so getting them together, we'll go back, we'll rewatch them, like go over like what people did wrong on stuff, like setting up dry runs, making sure we're going through that kind of stuff, making sure we're evolving, trying to pay attention to what's going wrong. Like it's honestly a lot of little things. It's just trying to like make sure things operate smoothly. It's not like necessarily doing things that teams couldn't do without a coach, but making sure that we are like hitting on all those marks and that we aren't forgetting things.
Okay. So basically just keeping things orderly is what your main focus is, as well as do you have a hand in strategy and all that kind of stuff? Or is it more or less just trying to keep everything to where everyone's just cool, calm, and collected and working towards that one goal?
Yeah, I would say the majority of our setups come from Kevin simply because he has a good mind for the game. But there are several maps where one or two things came from me, or as well as like one or two things came from Slash. That's just kind of like our method for how that stuff does. Kev just has a good mind for like where to put people in like a theoretical sense from the beginning. And then there's stuff that like I've tweaked after a practice or two, or Slash has tweaked after a practice or two, or just like anyone has had feedback like, hey, this isn't going to work because of how I do my thing. Can we try and do this? And then we'll sit down, we'll discuss, we'll rewatch. And so like a lot of the times when something we actually did recently since we moved into Vegas was we had kind of had this idea as a team that we'd gotten off kilter as far as how we originally came up with strats and like theorized stuff and worked through it. Since like last invitational boot camp was when we felt like we had a really good sense of how to do that. So we had made a very decisive point to get back to that, and kind of me, Slash, and Kev easily would sit down and just walk through stuff together, kind of get all of our ideas on it, as opposed to one person just bringing a strat to the team.
So that actually leads me into another thing I want to talk about, because I know quite a bit about your history. Actually, I used to follow your YouTube breakdowns back from way back in the day on YouTube for Pro League, and I actually ripped apart one of your old statistical models and kind of tweaked it and made it my own and tried to run things on my own just as a hobby. Back in the day. But you mentioned Slash, who is the obviously longest standing member on the team, and I think
sort of.
I think you're the second longest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, actually, so the way it was is because after the very first invitational, Slash was on this team, right? It was Slash, Tyler, Snake, Avian, and K9 was the very first invitational, and it was Era. After that LAN, obviously, whatchamacallit happened. Slash left to go to Evil G. CTM at the time, right? He went to the CTM roster. Young, I believe it was, came over to us.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
At the time? Yeah, I think something like that. Anyway, so Slash left, and then after year 2 season 1 Poland LAN, when all the North American teams got first rounded, it was Flipside, Era, and Elevate at that LAN. And that was the first LAN that Penta won that like started kind of like their dynasty at the time, back when they had Chaos and Falco. They had like a sub roster. They had a 6-man roster.
Yeah, I remember.
So I joined the team after that when it was actually Adam that was on the team. It was Adam and Snake were on the team on the Era team. And so Adam and Snake were cut. Slash came back. Young came over because CTM picked up BC and Jarvis. and then I joined as well. So as far as longest on the actual roster concurrently, it is Eclipse, but then the longest original member was Slash, but he had a season off of the roster.
So at USN, I got the opportunity to hang out with Slash at the after party, and he was very ecstatic about winning that LAN.
It was a long time coming.
It was, and that's what I'm trying to angle at is how do you as a coach, how do you as kind of the like you said, the orderly, the person trying to maintain chaos on this team, how do you keep everyone kind of in line and striving towards that goal of trying to be the best when you have a team that, and don't take this the wrong way or anything, but perpetually keeps falling just short? Like USM was the first LAN that the team, I guess, itself had ever won. How do you keep that goal in the distance ever present for the team? How do you keep everyone focused on that when it feels like every single time there's just one thing that goes wrong and everything comes up short?
I think if you start December 2017, so after we got first rounded at Gamescom by BRK, which is the former Team Liquid squad, or the current Team Liquid. It became Team Liquid. And then we lost to Infamy in year 2, season 3. The Ents went on to win. When we lost to Infamy to not make LAN for the first time, I think in the team's history, at least as like the Slash and Eclipse core in some time. When we didn't make that LAN, and that was when George was on the team, we kind of like sat down and decided that like in the goals of like us being the best, that we had to make the change. Like it was a big deal, obviously, like George going out, Kev coming in. And after that, that was kind of like where I feel like the core really began, the Slash, Eclipse, and Easily core, which is kind of like the core of our team going back the farthest right now. So that first invitational and then this year. But then it feels like, looking at it as a whole, like we've fallen short a bunch of times, right? We went out in the semifinals at Invitational with Avian on the team, and Avian and Brian, and then Atlantic City, we went out in the semifinals again. Paris, we went out in the semifinals. Austin, we went out in the semifinals. And DreamHack, Valencia went out in the quarterfinals. And then, Rio, we went out in the quarterfinals. But during all this time, there was so much going on with our team, with like the visa situations, playing with stand roster issues, with not being able to get people we wanted and take people we wanted off the roster, and like internal issues and stuff like that. So I don't think we were ever like down on ourselves, like, oh man, we just can't do this, we keep falling short. It was always like, hey, like we're so close, like we're getting here, we're trying to make these changes, like we're gonna get there. I don't think anyone ever lost sight of that. Like that's never been an issue for us.
That's good. I mean, because yeah, that is something that, I mean, I think that's been a whole NA thing now, is NA as a whole keeps coming up short. And it's, as an NA fan, as an NA personality, as an NA just human being, it stings a little. It stings a little. I just watched Canada get knocked out in the quarterfinals of the World Juniors last night. I was pretty upset. And then you multiply that by, 8-9 seasons. It starts to get to you. I mean, I really do have a lot of NA pride. I really believe in a lot of the NA teams, and I think a lot of them can do some big things. And it's just, I guess, just as a fan and a caster, it's hard to constantly see NA just hitting a wall. And I'd really like to see everyone push through it. And it gets demoralizing just to me as a fan. So it's good to hear that you guys are still like, and a lot of the players are still level-headed about it, and I think you've taken the right approach with thinking, yeah, we're that close. It's not that, oh, we keep coming up short. It's, we are that fucking close. We can push ourselves over the edge with a few more things, a few more tweaks. Something bounces our way. That's uplifting to hear, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's like any given tournament kind of element to Siege. Like anyone can show up and have like players pop off, and there's days where you just show up and it's not your day. That kind of stuff happens. Obviously, like you do your best, like team strategy, like your setups to mitigate that and make sure that like no matter what, you as a team will perform. But at the same time, like there's times where, like I'm sure there's been instances where in Siege several times where the better team has lost, like the better overall team has been upset by a strong individual performance, that kind of stuff. So there's really not that many Siege tournaments a year, and I do feel like it's not like NA is, hitting this wall, like NA can't do it, NA's never been able to do it, NA's been the worst during all these times. I think there's been times where NA maybe should have won or at least gone farther in tournaments and been upset at times like that. Without double elim in a lot of these tournaments, it is a very small sample size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the double elim is honestly the most punishing thing. I mean, just having that one and done aspect is, especially in the bigger tournaments, is really, really difficult. You know what I mean? Like we've seen double elim bracket runs come through before in qualifiers and stuff like that. For instance, like we had Orglitz with Yeti during their qualifier for not Challenge League. I think it might have been Challenger League. But anyways, they had the Cinderella run where they got knocked out in the first round down to the elimination bracket and ran all the way back up to the finals and ended up winning the whole thing. So, I mean, there's runs like that. And just having that match where you have that one mistake and you get punished for that, and then you're just completely done for the whole tournament. I'd like to see a rework in that, most definitely.
One of the big things I'd love to see is for the Pro League finals, since there is only 8 teams there, is that they would go to a double elim and add an extra day to those. Not at a whole group stage, but just a double elim bracket. So you seed out the bracket just like they do currently, and then build a double elim from there and just add a Friday to the tournament. Because I feel like those Pro League finals, it is only 7 games being played at those events. Like it takes 3 games to win the whole thing.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that I'm in total agreement. I think a double elim bracket for the Pro League finals would be really nice, considering you go through a 14-week regular season now with a major in between. It's 6 months long, and all of a sudden you have one poor BO3, and it doesn't even have to be the whole BO3. It could be a map. You could just be off on a map and it's over. So I think double elim would definitely be a better step towards improving the competitive integrity of a lot of these things, because that was the biggest debate for all of year 2, basically, was that double elim bracket season where you play like 3 games and you're at LAN, and there's not a lot of confidence behind that being assuring that you're the best of the best. There was a lot of luck going on with that system, and I'm glad we've gone back to the season schedule.
Yeah, I mean, having been to all of them this year, there's definitely like a big difference in feel as a team almost between, or as more so as an event, between the majors in Paris and the Invitational than the Pro League finals. Like obviously they're all big deals, and to me they're all major titles. Like I would consider them the 4 major events, Invitational, all pretty equal. But there's a different feel, like being there for 3 days versus competing over the course of like 8 days or whatever the majors come out to.
Stokes, you there?
Yeah, I'm good. Somebody just opened the door. I didn't want it to come across the mic.
I was gonna say I just talked. Yeah, so we can just keep trading back and forth.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But actually, I did have another question that I just thought of right off the top of my head. So obviously, Flynn and I were both at USN, and we saw you guys' run. It was fantastic. Vertical seemed to be really, really at home with you guys, which was awesome. Awesome to see him performing very, very well when he practically just got on the team. What is the differences between working with Vertical on the team and the mentality when Super was there?
Yeah, so I mean, we picked up Super in September. It started off as like, hey, it's going to be temporary, like 3 months, and we'll reevaluate at the end. We were in a situation where Gio left us right before the contract window ended, or the transfer window ended. So we had like 2 days to pick up a player, and we weren't getting any traction from Pro League teams. A bunch of people just signed contracts and stuff. We explored buyout options on people temporarily, but our long-term goal for some time had been Vert. And so after we traded Brian for Shuttle, we found out that basically we still weren't going to be able to get Vert even with a buyout. His buyout was just too much. So he was going to play out the rest of the season with Mouse Sports, and we needed to fill up until then. Seth was willing to do that, so it felt pretty good with Seth originally. Like he's a great guy. He fit in well, like attitude-wise with the team. It was really chill. He's just like fun to work with. He has a good mind for the game. But ultimately, when we got to the end, we kind of like ran into some of the roadblocks. I think it just showed like the Norango thing. He just kind of like a little bit got exploited as far as like raw aim talent at the top level. At the same time, though, I feel like on a team that's not ours, where Seth can have full control, he's a very like valuable piece to have, and there are teams that could absolutely use him at the pro level. But our team is kind of built around what Slash and Easily want to do strat-wise and like their like style of play. So like the room for Seth to just have like the freedom I think he needs as an in-game leader to operate just wasn't there.
I gotcha. I can definitely see that. Especially from casting him in Challenger League and seeing how well he did with that setup. It was kind of a whole different beast, them coming back with Elephant Gang for USN. I mean, really didn't see any of that flair that they brought in Challenger League with those just hyper-aggressive takes where they were just like, okay, this is how we want to set this up. We're going to set up as quickly as possible and just get the execute down, play off a Ying, play off a Glass, play off whatever we need to in order to get that pressure onto site. And we just really didn't see any of that at USN. Do you think that was just because he joined the team back so late?
Yeah, I mean, probably part of it's just a length of time he had to work back with the team, and then just like caliber of opponent. It's a lot easier to exploit just like quick setups and hitting the site when teams aren't as strong at using their utility to deny that kind of stuff at the Challenger League. But like one of the big things with Seth is like if you look at the roles he played prior to coming into our team, like he played roles that are pretty easy to like in-game lead from and take a lot of initiative. Like he was playing like Ying and IQ, so he's kind of like spotting for like utility and like checking for stuff and setting up pushes on attack or like calling the push around his utility. And then on defense, you'd see him playing a lot of like Valk and Pulse and Vigil and like just being a commanding presence on the realm, providing info and maneuvering his teammates offsite around himself. And then when he was on our team, like those aren't the roles that we needed him to fill. And he knew that coming in that he was going to play pretty supportive roles. On defense, he still got to play some of those. I think we saw him on like Legion and Valk and Pulse with us. But on attack, he was on Hard Breach just because we had those roles pretty cemented on our team. And I think it just, for him, wasn't a perfect situation. And it was kind of more of like a Band-Aid thing, how we organized him in our team, which I don't think gave him the best opportunity to show off his skill set. I do think Seth is a very capable player, but ultimately, like he wasn't what we needed as a player. Like we wanted another like piece for Slash and Kev to move around the board. We wanted to move Slash to where he's, as you've seen, playing a little bit more supportive stuff, sometimes Hard Breach, sometimes still Ying and Glaz, and then support on site on defense. And then, you know, it's Tyler and Shuttle and Vert who are kind of being the more aggressive players and aggressive pieces on the team.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the key points that we talked about a lot about in the pre-meetings for all of the nationals, actually, with production and everybody when we were taking keynotes to talk about for the analytics desk and everything, was that Slash Ugg was now going to be taking that, not backseat, but you understand what I'm saying. He's moving away from that more fragging role back to support where he has more of a free range to have that leadership role, but he is going to be giving that up to Vert. And that transition is always a little bit difficult because you do have those mannerisms built in, you know what I mean? Where you want to be aggressive on that play, but you can't because you hold the utility that can end up winning you the entire round, and you don't want to get punished for that. So it's very difficult to switch that mentality on a dime. But during the entire stint of nationals, I did not see him even have a blip of his previous play of just being aggressive off of information or anything like that. It was more or less just feeding Vert and letting Vert do what Vert does best, which is kill people.
It's actually interesting that you say that because I disagree. I think Slash still keeps a lot of that stuff, and that's actually something we wanted. I think you look at G2 and how they use a lot of their support. Like you'll see Pengu playing support and then being incredibly aggressive with it. And like you'll see sometimes Eunice on some more supportive stuff. Like you'll see him playing Capitao and holding a lot of that utility. And that was something that we've had on and off throughout the summer, like discussions with me and Slash where I had Slash playing stuff like Capitao, or like we had Slash playing stuff like Capitao on pushes, holding our smokes and stuff. And then it would be like, we'd get back and we'd, after the round, we'd lose, we'd recap the push, like what went wrong. And we'd discuss, be like, hey, we lost our smokes, we couldn't execute. And it's like, well, Slash was feeling like he was losing his free reign to make plays. He felt like he just had to sit outside the building and hold smokes so that we could use him to execute. And it was something that we kind of like discussed. It was like, hey, no, you still need to feel free to make your plays and obviously be cognizant of the fact that you're holding utility, but we don't want to hold you back as a player. Like look at like Slash statistically is like one of the second best like North American LAN players over the last like year. Like Slash is like plus 50 or something at LAN on the year. Like he's had an amazing year at international events. and he's like through and through always been an all-star player for our team. So it's been interesting, like transitioning to that. But I think one of the benefits is that he'll play that and still keep some of his aggression, and not just be a drone bot like the entire time. Like he will do the supportive elements. He's very good at droning. He's actually very good at calling off of his drones, and that's one of the reasons we liked him droning more on attack. Is when Tyler was entry fragging the last couple of seasons, he was very comfortable with Slash droning for him. And that was kind of something we had to work around, and Slash became more comfortable in-game leading from drones as opposed to in-game leading as an entry fragger, like he originally was in the past.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the one thing that I noticed the most when at Nationals was just his workaround for utility. Like he prioritize to use utility pretty often, not as often as, you know, we see other supportive people do, such as like Goddess and people along those lines, where they're like, okay, I have utility, I don't want to take a gunfight, I just want to get this utility down, and then I'm free to what I can do. He would still do that a handful of times, but as you were saying before, now that honestly I think about it once again, there was a couple plays that, especially during that SSG match, that I'm sure that you remember, there was some of those times where he would get that information. He's like, okay, I'm already here, I can make this happen, and I know I'm going to win that gunfight, and he would take it, end up winning it, and then prioritize on down, get that utility down, end up winning you guys rounds. So now that you honestly talk about it like that, it honestly makes me see it a lot clearer, which is awesome. I mean, he did fantastic all of USN, as you said. I'm pretty sure he had the highest percentile for your guys' entire team, didn't he? Or was it him, or was it Vert?
I'm honestly not sure where the USN stats were. I'd have to pull them up real quick. But I mean, Slash has just been so clutch. Like getting him in those roles, giving him the opportunity to be there in clutch situations while also being involved throughout the round. I think that's like one of the hallmarks of a good support player. Like obviously, like people look at someone like Pengu, like think of how many times he's had like a clutch that sticks in your mind, like those kind of big plays. But like you need someone who can do that at the end of the rounds and is always capable, always a threat in the late round, but can be involved with the team throughout the push. Like you don't want someone who is just going to sit there, shoot his hard breach at the wall, plant the bomb. You want someone who is a threat at all parts of the round and is contributing to the team throughout the round. And that's something that Slash, as an in-game leader, and with a really good mind for seeing gaps in a team and just being like, hey, I see this, like, you know, you go here, you go here, you go here, let's go now. Him being on drones gives him the opportunity to do that kind of stuff. So like if you look at our consulate game against EG in the grand final, like him and Kev would be like working around the push, but there'd also be times where they'd like see something on drone and like Kev would just go to spiral and get a kill, or he'd go slap connector window and get a kill. And people would just move around, like they'd move themselves around while also kind of commanding the troops throughout the round, or like working them throughout our strat. So they're both really good at working the map, and that's why I kind of think they're like the hallmark for what a good support player can be. And that's something that I think does a lot for making us as good as we are.
So changing gears now, because that's honestly some of the things that I really like to do. I would really like to do, especially as soon as the season starts, is actually break down plays like you're mentioning and players with their mindsets and their control of the map and stuff like that. But we don't have any fucking games to talk about right now, which has been the worst part of this goddamn off season, is that there's just...
Let's do it when the season starts. We'll do a VOD.
There you go. We'll do the VOD breakdowns. We'll just steal the off the shit stream. Your first 5 matches are actually really interesting. I just pulled up the schedule.
We got a Hell in a Cell in the middle of our schedule. We go like Dark Zero, EG, SSG.
Oh
Rise,
my god!
we are bookended by Noble and EXG.
Yep.
And then everything's in the middle, like all the, you know, like what you would kind of consider the 1 through 5 teams of the season are all bam smack dab in the middle.
Oh my god!
We play like
Twitter and be like, "When's the last time you slept?" And you're like, God, it's been at least 72 hours. Like, this man's gonna be prepping for everything.
Yes, like on the 8th we play the former Noble roster. 4 days off, we play Dark Zero, then EG back to back, and then we got our break. Then C9, SSG back to back days, then the break, and then Rise. Yeah. Whew.
Well,
that's the schedule.
Yeah, the schedule looks... It's interesting. I mean, everyone's got to play everyone. That's kind of the beauty of this setup now. We're back to everybody at least playing each other once before the major, and then everybody plays each other again before the seasonal finals. I gotta say, though, looking at this portion of the schedule, like you said, looks rough, man. That's a tough middle chunk there. How you guys feeling about that?
We're feeling good. can I make you guys answer the dark question of at the
Go for it.
halfway point of the season? What's your top 4 teams and what's their order? The top 4 teams at the halfway point.
Halfway.
Obviously, there's some teams that come on strong later in seasons or start good. Like, who do you think is going to start this first half of the season? This like Hell in a Cell month in January. Who's coming on top halfway through the season for you guys?
You want me to take it first, or you want to go first, Ducks?
And why is it Rogue?
Am I a robot right now?
Are you a robot? No, you're good.
I'm good. Okay.
Oh,
Then, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
take
you're
it.
good. Go
I'll
for
take
it.
Top 4 teams of the season at the half. Okay, I'm going to go Evil Geniuses, Rogue, SSG, Dark Zero.
Do you think there's going to be any big gaps in there? Is anyone going to be ahead by 5, 6, 7 points?
I think that you and EG are going to be tighter than a gnat's ass. That's honestly what I think. So
Okay.
I think you guys are literally going to be on top of each other, if not tied, due to ties or something along those lines.
Don't tell Reddit that they're very mad that it's just us and EG going to every land and that no one else
Well,
gets
I mean, look, you got to beat the best to be the best, and so far, no one's done that to either of you guys. I mean, like you guys finally took down EG at a land. That's awesome. You guys got your land win. That's awesome. Now you guys just have to keep doing it. You just got to keep doing it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, look, I think I had this conversation with Flynn a couple weeks ago, and my point of that conversation was that the teams that are the top of your region are the teams that bring up the rest of your region up to that level in order to be a top team. Therefore, you're making the entire region better. If it's you and EG battling best because in our entire region, and until they're up, that's not going to change. So those teams have to grind it out. They have to get better in order to touch what those Evil Geniuses. Because I'm being a robot right now, aren't I?
Yeah, you're so fucking robot.
Okay.
I was gonna try and let it ride, but you need to shut the fuck up.
My point.
I was waiting to stop it like after the Roomba here stops talking. Let's hear from the other side.
Yeah. You need to shut the fuck up for a second, Stokes. Get your internet under control. Top 4 for me at the half. Damn. That middle chunk. That's interesting for Rogue. I have put a lot of fucking faith in SSG in the past. I think I'm gonna do it again.
I think they're damn good.
Yeah, I think SSG is still my motherfucking hill to die on. So I'll give it no favoritism because you're inches away from me, but I'll give Rogue the 1. I'll give SSG the 2. Oh, I kind of want to throw a wild card in there. I'm gonna give Dark Zero the 3, and I'm gonna give Cloud9 the 4.
So you're saying EG is going to be out of the
EG will
top.
not be in the top 4 at the midway point heading into invite.
And I don't think any of that's like an unreasonable argument. I think there's definitely like ways you can put a lot of these teams and stuff can go. But can I ask why you're putting EG out of the top?
EG out of the top 4 for me is, I mean, it was the same way last season where they started out fine. They weren't dominant. They weren't.
Anymore. Let's go.
There you go, bud.
Welcome back.
EG last season as well started out fine. You know, I think they went 500 for like the first 6 weeks, and then the last day they got a win, so it kind of put them back in I think they were in the 3 spot, and you were in the 4 spot heading into Paris. They just kind of have that tendency where they start out fine. They can keep themselves above water in the first half, but I think there have been rises in competition level for a lot of the top tier teams. I think they'll get their easy wins. I think Rise and Accelerate should be pretty easy wins, but I've said that about them before, and I think they went 0-2 against Mouse last season. Both of them on Coastline, which was weird. They're not the best coast team in the world, but still. For me, they start okay. They don't blow any doors off. They don't show stop in the first half, and then they turn it on the second half, and they fucking turn into otherworldly creatures. For me, EG it's going to take time for them. No matter what happens, no matter what the kind of meta is, even though there's no new ops coming in, there's no new maps coming in, it's kind of the same game plan as last season. It's going to take time for them to gel. And I think with Gotcha coming in, it's another new X factor to throw in there. They did okay at USM with Gotcha playing. Him as coach, again, it's another thing to throw into the mix. Cloud9 is just a complete fucking toss up there. I think they might just outfrag people. Dark Zero, again, they had that consistency last season for the first half and then kind of fell off. They kind of choked it to end the season. And then, like I said, SSG, I've been on that motherfucking hill for a year and a half now.
Flynn is the one who built that train. He's driving it right now.
I've built the SSG monument. So yeah, that's my reasoning behind the EG thing. They start okay, and then they turn it on.
It was interesting, like last season, because EG was obviously very much a tale of two halves in terms of their roster last season. Obviously, they didn't start with Geo on the roster. That happened after the midseason Paris break.
Yeah.
So they were the BC roster before and the Geo roster after. That's very interesting because, like, I think if you looked at the second half of their season, we saw Geo performing really, really, really well, and I think outside of that, like when they played the Rise game, I don't think Geo had that same level of performance, and they kind of dropped off. So, like, is Geo going to be able to drop 10 plus every game for EG to kind of continue the way they ended last season?
I think the bigger question is NVK going to be able to stand on two legs throughout the season, because he's had a bad run lately, and that's been well documented. I don't think I'm saying anything that isn't true. He's just been out of sorts lately. There's been a lot of evidence behind the fact that if that whole team isn't firing, if there's one person anchoring them down, they just, I don't know, no one really X factors and like carries the rest of the team. It's a full team effort over there. They are a completely cohesive unit, but when one part starts to slow down, they all start to slow down. Versus other teams where there's clearly been some top heavy carries going on other teams that have been able to propel some faltering players into a middling position in the standings. EG is a team that needs all five firing, and man, NVK has just had a bad run lately. I don't know what it is, because the mechanical skill is obviously there. I still think it's mental. I still think it's mental with Nate.
And obviously Nate's a very good player. So I'll tell you something. Out of the old Evil Geniuses roster, the Canadian MVK, BC, Necrox, and Young, who do you think were the top two performers on LAN for the entirety of 2018, basically invitational to net? Who do you think were the top two?
Probably give it Necrox and Young. Necrox and BC.
You're right. It was Necrox and BC.
Yeah.
So BC was plus 24 at the end of the year. Necrox was plus 31. So just an interesting thing. Obviously, BC is no longer there. And obviously, Geo's a very capable player to replace him. Geo's a fantastic player. I miss having him on the team. I really like him as a person. Great dude.
That's an interesting point, though, because, yeah, Geo, like you said, he'll be an amazing player. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, for me, EG is just this, like you said, tale of two halves for me. The first half of the season, almost identical to last season. I don't see them really blowing the doors off anyone. Rise is an interesting one. I wonder how Rise will do without Vert.
It's interesting.
It's definitely going to be a change of pace.
You back to Robot already?
Ghost is a good player. Am I Robot again?
Hey,
that really just
keep her going. You stalled out for a second, but you're good.
All right. Anyways, Ghost, obviously a decent player. We saw that he was not scared to perform at LAN. Never been at LAN before. Did fantastic there, I would say, for the match that we got presented. But again, only got one shot, and they ended up playing SSG and losing. Now, the second map, not nearly as good as the first. The first one, he showed a lot more of his prowess. And, that was really, really good. I liked what we saw from Rise, especially with him just joining. But obviously, we've seen teams prior to this pick up people and just win lands. I mean, we saw C9 pick up Mark, and then 2 weeks later win DreamHack Montreal, stuff like that. I mean, I think it's going to take a little bit of work because there is a lot of firepower on that team. Granted, they just did lose Vert, and that there was even more prior to that. So prior to Ghost. So honestly, I think with a little bit more cohesion, a little bit more work, that they will end up being one of these top teams. And honestly, I see this year, I think 2019 is North America's year. I'm going to put it right now. I don't even care. I think 2019 is North America's year. I think we're going to do very well at LAN. I think all of these teams are starting to understand what EG and what Rogue have been putting out for the last year here and saying, look, this is how the game is played, this is what we do, and this is why we're kicking your ass. And they're just now starting to understand that. And it seems to be working out really well. I mean, we had a lot of very, very good games at USN. And I think that's going to continue through this next season.
Yeah, I think that this could be NA's best year. I think I'm very happy with.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy with where my team is and where we're headed. I think we've got all the pieces in the right places right now to have the success that we want to have. It's obviously just a matter of getting out there and doing it. Do you think that this year Penta, or G2 rather, is finally going to be knocked off? Do you think that they're going to bring home the majority of the titles, or do you think that there will be, of the, say there's 4 major tournaments of the year, do you think of those 4, do you think G2 wins 2 or less? More than 2 or less than 2?
Less than 2, and I'll tell you why.
You think they only win 1?
I'm hot taking this right now.
I like this. I like this. Yeah. So
I like this too because you're giving me questions. So
does G2 take the majority of the lands this year? So is it going to be 1, 2, or 3? I don't think. I guess you can say 4 or 0.
They're going to take 1.
They're going to take 1. Okay.
They're going to take 1. They're going to take the first one.
Invite.
So you think they take Invite?
Yep.
Okay. Flynn?
I will take.
Give
hold on.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
I will take the hot take with the Invite win. Okay, but what I'm going to say is, Invite is going to be the time for North America to shine. I know that obviously Flynn has talked to me a lot more than you have, Ranger, before, and this is usually how I do things with sports, esports, all this stuff. I do my informed pick, and then after I tell you what I really want to happen. You understand? So this is what I really want to happen. I want you guys to show up. I want North America to show up, and I want us to win Invite. That is what I want to happen. That is what, in my heart and soul, what I bleed, obviously, is North America. I want us to do well. I want us to win. And I want us to continue to grow and eventually beat EU, because I hate looking at Twitch chat and seeing all that bullshit. So, honestly, I think that they still have what it takes to prove that they are the best team and go back-to-back on an Invite. I really think that they do. But honestly, after this last Pro League final of North America getting swept, North America does not like getting swept and everybody getting removed. We kind of get real sore about that kind of thing. So I know that definitely you guys weren't happy about it. I know that Evil Geniuses was not happy about it. And all of our top tier teams and all the younger teams now are starting to figure out that when you lose, you just grind harder. And I know for a fact, all of you guys have been working very, very hard for this goal. And I feel like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. I think that we have enough of kind of a in the bushes mentality to kind of pop out and go, okay, here's what North America's really got. And we just surprise everybody and take the whole thing. That's really what I want.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, on your last pod, on episode, I think 3 of your guys' podcast, you guys were talking about the invitational qualifiers coming up here. Yeah. And your pick was SSG, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So assuming your pick comes true and representing North America at the 2019 Six Invitational was Rogue, Evil Geniuses, and Space Station Gaming. Who do you think is... Oh, and Cloud9, sorry. My mistake. And Cloud9. We got 4 teams from North America. Out of those 4, who do each of you think is the most likely to upset G2 in a final?
Flynn, you want to go first or want me to go first?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I think EG's book is completely read by G2. I don't... I think there needs to be. I think there needs to be a new champion in North America, and my tough decision right now is between Rogue and SSG. I think there's more faith on my side in Rogue and you guys because there's more history there, and there's more LAN competitions there. There's more experience at the table, and the Vert pickup is probably a little more dominant than the Bosco pickup for me. I think the elevations of both of the rosters have been amazing to see. I have more faith in a Rogue upset than an SSG upset.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to go in the same boat. Usually I try to differ from Flynn just to be, more creative. But when we're talking all seriousness, all the cards on the table, who's my champion of North America that I want to finally dethrone G2 at Invitational, it's going to be you guys. Like, I honestly think Vert brings enough to the table, especially with how we saw Slashug and everybody else perform at USN. with that task in front of you guys, I don't see anybody, trying to flight away from that. I see everyone just full on dialed in and taking this away, because honestly, G2 doesn't have that much paper on you guys. G2 is one of those teams that they can play everybody, and they're very good at, as you said, their coach is fantastic. They're very good at, going back through VODs, everything along those lines. But I think you guys have enough of that chaos factor where you can just flip the script whenever you really need to, that it's going to be at least one hell of a match.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that I actually think G2 does really well. I think it's like when we played Norarango, we've played Norarango twice now. And like Norarango is one of those teams, like you can outstrat them, but to like out firepower them is very difficult because they have such individually skilled players. Like Maryu is an absolute god at this game, so is Waka. And then G2 is like that, but they're also one of the best strategic teams in the game. Like just like team play, working off each other, when they are on defense, challenging all the attackers, like grouping up. Anytime like the attack wants to put someone solo somewhere to hold map control, hold a flank, take anything, they're really good at challenging that as a group. And same thing on attack, isolating defenders, challenging that, not just like hitting the site setups, but just like really good at working off each other, working off the space in the map, and like knowing where people are going to rotate, really good intuition. And I think that like to beat G2, you have to be able to compete with them on a strategical level, and you have to actually just be able to hang with them in gunfights. Like G2 is always the thing where even if you outstrat them or just like outthink them, outplay them tactically, they can always just show up and just kill your entire team. Like they're just that good.
Oh, I'm so excited for Invite now.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened last time we played G2?
Last time we guys played G2?
We've played them one time ever.
When the
I can't remember exactly. Thank you, Flynn.
Hold on, let me try.
Do you remember what LAN it's?
Yeah, hold on. Let me try and human Wikipedia this.
I can tell you. If it helps.
Is this Brazil?
No, it's not Brazil. It's in Atlantic City, Season 7 Pro League Finals. And we had Shuttle as a stand. Yes. Because EG lost to them in the first round, and then we played them in the second round. We played them in the semifinals. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we went 3 maps against them with Shuttle as a stand-in.
Yeah, I do remember that now. For some reason, I was thinking all the way back to like year 2. I was like, that can't be right. Yeah, Jesus, Atlantic City. All right, I have an excuse for not remembering that. It's because I had not food poisoning. I had salmonella for a month, so I wasn't alive during that LAN. All right, leave me alone.
I was irrelevant during that point. Lamau.
I mean,
at the same time though, that was like of ways a match could show very little. Both of us were playing with the stand-in, so.
True, their stand-in became their mainstay player.
I mean, several months later, so did ours. So.
True. Oh, I'm so excited for Invite, man. I can't believe it's actually only a month away now. God, it's going to be fun. All right, changing gears again.
I'm going to get real drunk. It's going to be great.
All right, buddy. Have fun. Relax. So we, speaking of, since you said you listened to some of the episodes on the podcast, I talked about the...
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I talked about the mental drain of this stupid-ass month. How do you think, not just your team, but a lot of the teams in the scene are going to be able to handle this super month?
I mean, obviously it's harder for the teams that are competing in the online qualifiers just because they have so much more matches and they don't have the same amount of time to get in like structured practice. Mm-hmm. But again, that really comes back to how structured our team's practice is. I really don't know if every team actually has that structure of practices in North America. Are they like trying new stuff and doing stuff for a reason? It's hard to say even from my perspective sometimes. So I think it will hurt some teams. I think SSG has shown that they're very much more like that in recent months. I feel like they're a very structured team. What they've put together ever since bringing in Bosco and kind of upping their firepower, giving them someone who can actually entry frag, which is I think something that was an issue for them, and Rampy getting a little bit more aggressive as of late has kind of made that team a little more well-rounded and kind of solved one of the departments I think they were lacking. So as a whole, I think they're pretty structured, and that having to play all those extra matches and not having the time to put in practice and change their stuff is something I could see hurting them. But as a whole, I think I don't think it's going to be a mental issue. I think it's just going to be, I don't think anyone's going to get burnt out in 1 month straight. I think it's just going to be a matter of kind of disrupting people's like routine and ability to like strat a team specific.
Yeah, I touched on that. Basically, whoever's going to be able to cause the most amount of chaos will most likely benefit here or there in a couple games. And if if only we didn't have a super month. I don't know. It's one of those things that I understand why it happens.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of action. It's going to be a lot of content to follow too, which is like watching Pro League is going to be a full-time fucking job now. It's like 50 hours a week now.
I know. I'm gonna be doing that day to night.
Yeah, it must be tough, honestly, having to watch through because
real tough.
I mean, you got to keep tabs on everyone because you never really know, and obviously you keep tabs on your own region first, but you got to kind of squirrel things away. Like we said, invites, a little over a month away. You got to be prepping for that. I mean, there's always scenarios where you can find something that you can stash in the pile of strats and key things to write down for later dates on other teams in different regions. Like, is it kind of like how I'm saying it, where you're focusing more on NA, or is it an even split between all the regions?
I mean, because I watch all the NA matches live.
Yeah.
I definitely spent a lot more time watching North America. I'd say I watch 100% of the NA matches and then rewatch some of them. Probably 75% of the EU matches and rewatch 20% of the EU matches, maybe. And then I probably watch 30-40% of the LATAM matches and then rewatch, 25-30% of the LATAM matches. Like overall, so I probably most of the LATAM matches. I would VOD watch. So I watch a third of LATAM live, and then probably another, I probably watch half of the total LATAM matches, if I combine the amount that I'm watching in VODs and live. And then EU, I'll actually rewatch some of the ones I've watched live, whereas I don't do that very often with LATAM. It's something I personally need to be better about, is actually putting more emphasis on rewatching and learning more from other regions, and that's something I always hope to do this season.
Well, I'm in the same boat, really, where, I put 100% focus on NA. Like you said, I probably put about 70-80% focus on EU. And then, if I have time and I'm just dicking around, don't have anything to do for the day, I'll watch some LATAM VODs. But, for the most part, I'm very NA EU centric. So my knowledge of LATAM is particularly lacking in comparison to the other two regions. You're probably
so you're saying you have around 200% focus. That's what you're saying. Around 200% focus is your max focus.
Shut the fuck up.
So you have 100% on NA and 80% on EU and 20% on LATAM.
Yeah,
I guess so.
I respect it.
That's me, baby. The 200% watcher. That's what I do.
My God.
So you guys, like you said, you guys moved into to Vegas. That must be nice, because honestly, being there was a fucking dream. I can't imagine actually living there.
It's pretty warm. Well, not right now, but normally.
I fucking hate you. It's -20 outside and it's snowing, and I want to jump in a hole. I've also seen on Twitter you guys have been rewatching, and for some of you the first time watching Game of Thrones together. How's living together? Because it's not a team house, right? It's team apartments, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. The way it is because Shuttle has a long-term relationship, basically, so he has his own apartment where he lives with his girl, and then Kevin Vert have an apartment, / Nell have an apartment, and then there's an apartment that's mine, and then the extra room in a 2-bedroom apartment is basically the practice area in mine. So that's our setup.
Okay. So how is that for bonding with the team? Because obviously you've been around the team and its many iterations for a long time, like we talked about. How is it? Has it changed much? Has it just made you guys, I don't know, more of what you used to have? Is it tiresome at times having people from the team always around? What's the environment like? Does it help? Does it hurt? Is it just something else you got to adjust to? Is it fun? Is it tiring? What? Because there's a lot of talk about that with NA teams. There's, I think, 3 teams right now in NA that have a group housing situation.
C9, us, and Dark Zero are the ones that are currently in a house. I think maybe there'd be one more movie or something. I don't know 100%.
Yeah. So what's the situation like? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it just different? How does it help the team? How does it hurt the team? I don't know. How does it feel, basically, being all together in one place now?
I think it's actually one of those things that's been interesting. I think as a whole, it's been very good for the team, especially for practice environment, being able to just make sure everyone's focused, that kind of stuff. Everyone's eyes on what we're doing as far as dry runs, getting people more participated in, when we're actually like brainstorming stuff, theorizing. Like we can just kind of like sit down, work with one another instead of kind of doing that in our own time. It's just easier to do that, easier to work together when you're actually in the same area. So I think that's been one of the benefits for us. And then there's been times where I feel like when Rogues, like when we've been performing worse, or like is generally when like we're just not as together as a team, and just like aren't feeling it, whatever. We've had like our issues. Obviously, I think every team does within their roster over the time. And there's times when like when we were all living in our own places, where people weren't hanging out in TeamSpeak as much outside of practices. People weren't like playing other games together, that kind of stuff. And it just like, there's been times in the team where it wasn't as much of a community. And that's one of those things that being here is kind of very much a thing. Like everyone's hanging out, spending time together. Everyone's very close. And as a whole, I think it's just been good for the team environment.
That's good. You done being a robot over there?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I bet.
Yeah, I got my phone in the proper position because apparently I crashed their internet with Discord, so I had to switch to my hotspot. So yeah,
My God.
and I'm in an area where I get barely any connection, so I have it currently propped up upside down, and I'm getting 2 bars of LTE, and it's not going to move from that spot. So we're good. We're good as long as the dog doesn't knock it over. But anyways, what I was going to say is that, yeah, I guess like the main thing about teams, especially in a game like this where it is so team oriented, is that you basically have to have a brotherhood. I mean, otherwise Team Chem can just get so far down. Well, excuse me. Let me back up just a little bit.
There you go.
The issues inside of the match to where, maybe somebody, like for instance, SSG versus Rogue, it's Coastline. Thinking Nade goes huge in a 2v5, ends up getting an ace and flips the entire script on you guys. You guys get punished for just over peaking, so on and so forth. That's where that stuff really comes to play, is when you actually have that team mentality instead of going, hey, you fucked this up and you fucked this up and what the fuck, you hopped out a window, blah, 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 blah. You guys are like, okay, look, let's just reset.
Exactly.
Everything's going to be good.
I was like, guys, you all fucked up.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, after I casted that, I tossed it over to Parker. I was like, I bet Ranger actually wants to stab all of them right now, especially for Pulse just like jumping out of blue windows. Oh no!
Yeah, we went a little too ham on the defensive runouts there that round, but hey, shit happens.
It happens. Hey, you guys won, and you guys ended up winning the whole thing. So I mean,
yeah, they get a shiny new trophy eventually whenever it gets mailed to us.
Trials and tribulations. Why couldn't you just drive it home? That's
because we don't get to keep that one. That's just like Invitational. Like you don't actually get to keep the damn hammer. Apparently, you don't get to keep the USN one. You get like a slightly smaller version.
Yeah, I know.
We have.
Did they tell you how much that thing weighed? I think they told you, didn't it? Did they? It was a 90-pound trophy.
It was a 90-pound trophy. They told us not to lift it, so we lifted it anyway.
Yeah.
I noticed. That was great.
We saw.
We're like, we were sitting there up there on the stage. We're like, yeah, should we lift the trophy? It was like, they told us not to, and we were like, yeah, but we won. Like, what's winning without lifting the trophy? And we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's lift the trophy.
Yeah, they were literally through like our entire production, like pre-show run for the entire rehearsal day, even the meetings the day before, stuff in emails and stuff. It was like, this trophy's fucking huge. They won't lift it. Don't wait for them to lift it. They're not going to lift it. And then I was up in the, like, because we were casting from up in, like, the fucking audience, which was weird. And I was looking down, and I saw you guys going towards it. I'm like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes. Lift it, baby. Just do it. Just do it. That thing was fucking huge, though.
Yeah. That trophy's badass, though. That's honestly probably my favorite trophy they've made so far.
It was really nice. I really hope we get some.
I gotta give a nod to the Invitational one. I still love the hammer just because it's so iconic.
Yeah.
But I like this one more than the Paris one.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that shield. Maybe it's just because I hate shields in the game in general, but
it brought out something dark and deep inside you.
Yeah, that thing. It looked really like it. Clearly, they showed the video of it being made, and clearly it took a lot of time and effort. But like a shield, really? That's your trophy?
Really cool, to be honest, but.
You gotta do better than that, boys. You gotta do better than that. You gotta do better than a shield. Come on. Like you said, the sledgehammer's iconic.
Ideas.
Yeah.
There's so many other cool ideas, especially inside of Rainbow Six, and you choose a shield. Like, if you're going to choose a shield, at least make it like, I don't know, like Montang shield. It's a major. Like, come on, dude. This tiny little riot shield. But, we'll stop talking about trophies.
A giant version of Ash's grenade launcher. I think that'd be interesting.
Fantastic. Yes, that'd be great. I'd love that.
There was a CS trophy from DreamHack Winter 2015. There was like best opper, and it's like a miniature life-size op that Fallen won.
Oh my god!
I was reminded of it because he tweeted out a picture of like the MIBR trophy case, SKLG, like that they all have.
Yeah.
And there's this one in the corner. It's like this little op, and it was actually probably one of the most sick-looking trophies they had. It's this little like MVP personal award he had.
Jeez. I hope we get some better trophies for.
I hope we get more trophies. I want more tournaments. What do you guys think about that? Do you think the like more events is a good thing for the scene? Like, do you think?
Yeah.
Because obviously there's been like like players have been talking about on Twitter, or were talking about. It's kind of died down now about how like they need a break or whatever. Like there's no set player break. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I have my thoughts on that, obviously. But what are yours? I'll share mine after.
I'll go first, I guess, because Flynn left the floor open, and that's usually my cue. Anyways, my thoughts on it are that just Pro League events right now, just events that we have that are sanctioned from Pro League, there's not that many. We have dream hacks outside of that where, you can have bring your computer teams and then the other teams that are invited, things along those lines. But outside those two, we don't have really anything. And the other thing is, not every single team needs to attend every single LAN. We see that inside of Counter-Strike. I mean, Counter-Strike has LANs a dime a dozen. There's a LAN practically every 2 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that we need to be like that, but I'm saying to where at least, maybe we have a LAN every month that, not every team has to attend to, whatever. But if it, gets on down that line where we have that LAN every single month, say, however deep in, and it's here, here, and here, and we just have it planned out for the entire year. It doesn't drop in anybody's lap so that we know what's going on. Or obviously, maybe we do 10, so we have that little break period like we were talking about, help out players. But the more LANs we have, I feel like the more viewership is brought to us, as well as just the community wrapping around the esports scene as a whole, which that's a whole different conversation that Flynn and I have already had a trillion times. And I know that now, since you've listened to the podcast, Ranger, you've heard us talk about it. But honestly, I feel like adding just a little bit more sugar into the pile would be helpful to what is going on right now. Because I feel like right now LANs are a little bit just far and few between.
Yeah, I touched on it on that episode where, I think it was last episode, where I was just going off about a bunch of different shit, being the Doomsdayer. But I mean, in October, so during Thanksgiving, the real Thanksgiving, by the way, not your fucking pansy ass fake Thanksgiving in November, the real Thanksgiving in October. I was in Italy.
Can we outvote and kick Flynn from the call?
No, we can.
A host gets ejected. The new version of the podcast. I was in Italy for the Euro Cup. I was in Italy for the Euro Cup, and it was like this. I don't know. It was a weird event. I knew nothing about it before I got the offer. I got the offer literally on the plane back from DreamHack Montreal. I got an offer from ESL, and it was just like, hey, do you want to go to Italy to cast the Euro Cup? I was like, I don't know what the fuck the Euro Cup is, but I'm in, because yes, I need money, and Italy sounds like fun. And so Empire was there, Penta was there, and then all the other teams were teams I had barely heard of. So Trust Gaming was there, who just participated at DreamHack Winter, so I'm sure plenty of people out there will be familiar with them. But there were a bunch of other teams out there that I had never heard of before, who weren't even like in EU Challenger League. They were just in different like national level competitions in their own little regions of Europe. Like half of the old Gbot squad from year one was there. Like they were an all Spanish team. They just had some new players in, but like Drid and Lion were there. And obviously Penta and Empire were the big draws, but like just events like that, just random ass events like that. I think we need more of them, where it's not just the Pro League events, because like you said, there's not that many Pro League events that are just pure Pro League. There's seasonal finals and there's majors, so it's 4 a year. And then for the Pro League teams, obviously, yeah, there's Pro League players right now complaining about how they don't have like a set break or anything, unless there's a stupid ass delay like this, because there's 6-month seasons, and back-to-back 6-month seasons make a full fucking calendar year. But for the other players out there, I mean, what do you have? You have Challenger League and then nothing. You got maybe US Nationals once a month in the summer for like 4 months, for like a couple weeks, and they're just weekend like go for brackets basically. There's not enough at the lower levels, and there's not enough tournaments really where everyone can really get involved and extend their career basically and make playing a viable option. Right now, if you're not in Pro League, you're basically doing it as a hobby with the dream of making it a career.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case for any esport, though. To be honest, there's not many esports or really any esports that have like a viable semi-pro as like a living kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at like CS:GO, and I know I use that example a lot, and I apologize for it. I mean, there's a lot more teams that can make a living off of it, basically.
Yeah, it's just that they happen to have a bigger pro league, right?
Yeah.
They've got, like a 16-team pro league per region as opposed to or maybe it's 12. I think 12-team pro league as opposed to 8.
I have no clue.
Something like that. But either way, several more teams per league. I think my thoughts is basically I would like to see somewhere between 8 and 10 international events a year that decent sized international events, like almost like the equivalent of like our pro league finals right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if teams wanted to go to more than a LAN a month, basically. So, maybe if like a team, if they wanted to go maybe like 15 events a year, then the rest would be kind of like smaller regional stuff. But basically for that, you got to have more tournament organizers get involved. I just thought the whole player break thing was really bizarre. Because like between pro league finals, like if you didn't go to the pro league finals, then you had like 8 weeks off, and I can't think of a regular job that gives you 8 weeks off twice a year. Like even us going to the pro league finals, like we had like 4 weeks off, and we felt like that was all a ton of time off. Like it felt like it'd been forever since we played. So I just was curious whether people thought about that, because like Twitter was obviously all behind the few people who were saying that they needed a break, but I just thought it was like kind of a bizarre thing. Like I don't feel like we actually play that much.
Yeah, even if you are one of the top teams going to every LAN, like you guys or G2 or Evil Geniuses, like there's still a lot of fucking time off. Like
there's
even
a ton of time off.
Like
Exactly.
I think people just aren't being I think people aren't being structured enough and like actually setting breaks for themselves and being like, hey, let's take 2 weeks off. Here's your break time. We'll get back to work a week before the event. I think they're just kind of practicing, a few days a week constantly, and are taking the break away from themselves without realizing it.
Because the schedule like breaks down to like before Paris, it was like what 3 weeks before Paris, then Paris was a week, and then 3 weeks after Paris, and then if you were at DreamHack Montreal, you got one of those weeks taken away. But if you weren't, then you're fine. You have a 6-week break if you're not at Paris and you're not participating in any other tournaments in like that 6-week gap, then you're fine, really. And even if you are, I mean, Paris was a week. You're probably boot camping a week before Paris. Okay, there's still 3 weeks after Paris if you're not going to DreamHack Montreal. If you are, it's still 2 weeks after. Like there's a lot of break time out there to be had, and like you said, I think it comes down to the structure. If you're not structuring yourselves some break time in, probably working yourself, I don't want to say too hard, because then we have the whole lazy NA pro comment to fall back on, but you're not utilizing your time efficiently enough, basically.
Yeah, something we've been trying to do is be more efficient with our time. Like actually making sure that when we are practicing, like taking set days, and then when we are practicing on the days we do practice, is making sure we actually have like stuff we want to work on and aren't just like mindlessly playing.
Yeah, and that was actually the point that I was going to make, is that I feel like a lot of these teams are repetitively practicing on days and just kind of aimlessly going at it. Like, okay, well, I guess we'll catch some scrims today. All right, yeah, we're going to dry run today, but we're just going to set up the exact same things we set up before. Don't really want to, try and stretch anything out and try and figure anything out here. We're just going to kind of go through the motions, and then, that's about it. And like, okay, well, we do this like 3 to 5 times a week. And it's not very structured. It's just more or less just we're there. We kind of do our thing, and then that's about it. That's going to improve, and that's not it at all. That's not the case. You have to have structure. You have to know what you need to work on, and you have to focus on getting that goal, in which is improve upon the things that you're failing on currently. And I feel like that's what you've been doing very, very well, Ranger, with your team. Is the issues that you guys have, you're able to isolate that and go, okay, here's the issue we're having right now. We're going to solve this. This is what our practices are going to be focused around, is us fixing this issue. And once we get done with that issue, we'll move on to this one and this one and this one, prioritize those, and then move on with your day. And I feel like you do that very, very well. And I feel like a lot of other teams that, that essentially don't even have a coach. There's a lot of teams that still don't have a coach, that they need to kind of collectively work together to figure that out. If you guys are having an issue with your roam game and you guys are dying too quickly, then okay, go back, watch your VOD, figure that out. Okay, this is what we want to try to apply to our next scrim, see if that works out, and just, work your way towards getting past these obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, to be honest, there's times when like we haven't had that, where even though I think typically that's something we try to do, there's been periods in Rogue's history where we've been messy. We felt like we've practiced for the sake of practicing, and aren't making decided improvements. But that's something I think that we've kind of like taken a renewed interest in since this change. That's kind of been like revitalized, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm very hopeful right now as far as I think where we can go in the next couple months here with Invite and this Pro League season coming up. So it's also something I feel like SSG has done really, from an outside perspective. Obviously, I don't know 100%, but I feel like they've done a very good job of. I feel like as a team, they've kind of like playing them has changed from what they used to be. Like I think before the loss with Seth last season, we were like 11-0 all time versus SSG on maps. Like we'd never lost a map to them in a match. And then like the last time we played them at USN, obviously it was super close. We lost Villa against them in the Pro League season. I think they've really reshaped themselves as a team. And that's kind of an interesting thing to me.
One of the things that I was on Heads Up Daily talking about this with you guys and with SSG, just the concept of making roster changes came up in the conversation, and
that's always a good one.
It is, and it wasn't about like predicting roster changes or talking about a specific roster change. To me, it's more about the mentality. Like you see it a bunch of times where a team will make a roster change, and for like 2 weeks they are unstoppable. Like I don't know, and to me it comes down to friction within the team that just develops over time and how to dissuade that, but. My question basically is like when you guys make a roster change, because like I said, you've been around for a few now, different iterations of the Rogue roster. Is there kind of like this honeymoon phase for you guys where, there's a new person on the squad, you're focused on getting them up to speed and you're not focusing on your own issues, where everything just kind of flies off the wall. You guys are fucking dominating people for a couple weeks and then things start to slow down. Has that hit you guys? Because it's hit a couple other teams that I've noticed throughout the years, and I'm always curious about those mental factors of the team, the roster changes, the makeups, the team composition, how players and coaches and teams as a whole overcome some of those mental barriers.
That's an interesting one, because like I think there's like almost two discussions here, right? Like you have the whole like everyone like has criticized NA and Rainbow for a little bit here for like making too many roster changes, right? It's like, oh, NA shuffle, forehead. Like why is NA always shuffling? Like just stick together. Look at G2, they stick together, they're still winning. Why aren't you being like G2? Which it's obviously easy to say when the team on the top hasn't made any changes because they're on the top and they're still winning and no one's challenging them. And like, is that because they're sticking together and some other teams aren't? Hard to say, but I think there's also the discussion here of the honeymoon phase, and that's something you see in lots of FPS esports. I think especially is like you see it in Counter-Strike. Like teams will first tournament with a new person, they'll go deep, and then they'll never do that again. Like they just kind of like plateau or fall off. And that's hard to say. I feel like obviously like Seth came in, and then we had DreamHack and went really well. We played like super loose. We barely had time to go over maps, and we made it to the finals of that DreamHack, and then lost to Cloud9. And then when Vert came in, I almost feel like it was the opposite. I think things actually started kind of slow. We had a point where we got destroyed in a scrim. We sat down and we canceled scrims for the next day. It's like, yeah, we actually need to like slow down here a little bit and really like work on ourselves and figure out how we want to do this instead of just like, hey, Vert, come do this stuff. Let's go crazy. So I think it can go both ways. It's like hard to really say what causes kind of that like honeymoon phase, things just working right off the bat. I think it kind of depends on play style. I think one of those things is like when someone comes in, people have a tendency just to like throw them easy roles for them, and it kind of catches other teams off guard. And then you step out of that, and then slowly like those roles weren't actually ideal for the team, and the team kind of like falls back down to where they should be almost. But that on that side, it's really hard to stay. And then obviously like the whole does NA shuffle too much is a different thing. I'm of the opinion that they don't. I feel like if after 2 or 3 events, well, I'd say after like 2 events, you realize kind of like where your team's at. So after like every 6 months, I think you should kind of have a feel for what your team is, and like maybe they'll climb a little bit or they'll fall down, but I don't think your team's going to become something else after that point. So I think like you play a full pro league season. I think the argument can absolutely be made like to make a roster change. I don't think it's like, oh, if we stick together for next season, we're going to become 80% better.
Yeah.
Maybe you improve by 25% or something like that. You like work on some new stuff. I mean, at the same time, like making some role changes and like that kind of stuff can have a similar effect. So, but like I think you should make a change. You shouldn't just sit there and be like, yeah, just staying together is going to make us better. I don't actually think that that's 100% the case. I'm the NA Shuffle opinion, I guess. That if it's not working, you make a change. Like if you really want to be the best, like you're gonna do what's necessary to be the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I feel like the best way to explain that with the couple conversations I've just had with friends and stuff along those lines about the North American Shovel, as you were saying, is look, every single player in a team is practically a chemical, okay? And you're just trying to find the right chemical makeup in order to make a team successful. Now, you might have some teams that get better with time, but the mixture can only be mixed so well. You know what I mean? Eventually, it's all the way through. You can't mix it anymore. It's like Kool-Aid into water. You know what I mean? You can only mix it so much, and then eventually it's just completely diluted. It's in there. That's it. That's all you can really do with it. You know what I mean? And until you find another component to put in there that works better for what you're trying to accomplish, then, that's really all you have. And it's better to identify it out earlier and to move on and try and make that fix to make what you have better than it is to just go, okay, yeah, we'll just grind it out. We'll just keep grinding it out. And if, we don't get the results, then we'll just keep working together as a team and just get to that tier. Now, that is a great mentality, but if you get 2 years down the road and you still have nothing to show for it, then what?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely the case.
I just made a comparison to players in Kool-Aid. I feel good about myself. All right.
Yeah, I mean, but like think about it, like when you're mixing Kool-Aid, obviously there's one thing that's going to taste the best, but you're still not making coffee. Like no matter how you mix it, like if that's not what you need, that's not what you need. It doesn't matter like how you change it up. At some point, teams also have to be willing to make changes.
Exactly.
And like I think maybe look at like Vitality in Europe. Like they stuck together with that roster for quite some time. They didn't make changes, and ultimately didn't work out with them. I think that is a team that could have made changes. I think they had some obvious flaws in that team, and I think they never went out and did anything about it, and ultimately they just kind of plateaued. And I think I think anytime like a superstar or like the star player kind of gets kicked, it's more than likely there was some attitude things there, and I think there was like some rumors about that. So I think people might have gotten frustrated.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, the thing that I feel like in North America that happens so often is I feel like just our community here hates it when there's a lot of movements because they're like, oh, well, I got this person's jersey and I don't want to see them leave. And I feel like that there's bringing the entire team down and why the hell did you do that? And blah, 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 blah. Obviously we're more North American oriented. That's where all of us are from. So honestly, it's probably in every single region, but I feel like there's just so much flack that every team gets right now for shuffling things. And I feel like that's why the North American Shuffle has gotten this notorious title, is because they just feel like, oh, well, they're more or less just moving around mediocre pieces, and that just equals a lazy continent for the game. Like, that's it. And that's not the case at all. It's more or less that North America has always been the second running to EU for FPS for quite a long time. There is some games where we are obviously better. Call of Duty, Gears of War, stuff like that. We are better. But for PC titles, we're not right now. And I feel like Rainbow Six is getting to that point where we're just like, okay, fuck it. We want to be that good. We want to be the top. We want to be the best. And we're just moving around the pieces in order to make that happen. You guys have done it. Evil Geniuses has done it. SSG's doing it. Everybody's doing it. I mean, there's so many pieces flying around right now, and you can see it in just the matches being played, Ranger. You know what I mean? The matches being played, there's a lot higher skill being used in these matches than, say, a year ago. And not only is that from just players getting better overall, it's just from these roster movements and these teams just getting to be one cohesive unit and playing very well.
I think that's definitely the case. I think one of the interesting things, like you look at like CS, and I think there's definitely an argument to say that like NA in Counter-Strike doesn't have like the same individual talents that EU does. Whereas in Rainbow, I don't feel like that's the case. I don't feel like there's standout player I don't feel like there's EU players that are just unrivaled by anyone in North America, right? There's not like you look at like NA and Counter-Strike, like when has there been a North American opera that could compete with any of the like the top European ones, you know?
I mean, only Skadoodle. That's really about it.
And then that really was like a very short-lived thing. It was like one summer was the only time. Yep. Whereas in Rainbow, I don't feel like that's the case. I don't feel like there are like talents that just can't be matched. Like obviously, like G2 has some superstar players, but like I think Vert can go head-to-head with Kanto. I think Slash can go head-to-head with Pengu and that kind of stuff. Right. So like I think that. It's not some like and NA can't win. Like they gotta they're just shuffling around mediocre pieces. I think people, they got to put teams together that can do the right thing. The people that can work together, and the biggest thing is they need to put people together for the right reasons, not just trying to put together the best players, or trying to put together friends. I think teams really just need to put together people for the right reasons, and there's a number of teams in NA that maybe could compete if that was the way they worked.
Yeah, most definitely. I gave my entire family the entire list of all the organizations that are in North America for Rainbow Six Siege for Christmas. I was like, look, going to give me something? Just give me some merch. I did not get a single piece of Rogue gear, Ranger. Not a single piece. They got me all SSG stuff, and I got one C9 sweatshirt. I have like 5 pieces of SSG merch now. I was like, you guys like didn't coordinate at all. Like I couldn't get like a jersey of like Rogues or something like that. They fucked me, dude. I got fucked by my own family. It's terrible.
They had so the Rogue store had the 20% off sale after you guys won USN. There was like the whole week of the entire org winning something in like a span of 2 weeks. Yeah, and I was looking at
we won in FIFA, we won in obviously Rainbow, and then we won in one more thing. I can't remember.
I think the CS team qualified for something big in China.
Yeah, they made the Starlighter. The CS team made the Starlighter qualifier, so
yeah,
they won the online qualifier to get to a LAN. But then we won a big title in FIFA, and then obviously in Rainbow.
Yeah, I was looking so hard at a Rogue sweater, dude. God damn, I was about to pull the trigger on it, and then I looked at my credit card balance after USN, and I was like, kind of got to pay that off first.
Vegas hurts. Vegas really hurts.
Does hurt, dude. Jeez.
Vegas does you dirty.
Yeah, dude.
It was so fun, but
so much money spent. That's why I was so thankful for the open bar.
On the plus side, Montreal is monopoly money, so
yeah. Our money is worthless.
I'm so excited for that.
That was the big thing, too, because I was looking at the Rogue store. It's all in US dollars, so I was multiplying everything by 1.4. I'm like, add 40% of whatever this says to my money. Oh, okay, great. That's $80 for a sweater. I'm good. I don't have $80.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, our money's fucking fake. And I guess, speaking of Canada and our shitty-ass money, and I guess ending USN. Now, this is a question I like to bring up with a lot of people that I get to talk to in the scene, which is how because you've been doing this for a while now, a lot longer than me and Stokes have, as far as like
coach since June 2017.
Yeah, you've been, so that's longer than I've been casting. I've been casting since October 2017. October 2018. Sorry, no, October 2017. I know math. Anyway. How do you explain what the fuck this is to, like, your family? Like, when you go home for holidays, if you do...
That's, like, my least favorite thing in the world.
It's great, isn't it? I just had to go through it. Stokes had to go through it. I'm sure you had to go through it.
Because Flynn's got more of a catalog to pick from. Mine's for, like, here's some pictures, and, like, why is there people standing there and you have a headset on? You're like, and, oh, my God. Actually, I have it on my phone, Ranger. I'll have to send it to you later. But there was some guy, this is... sprung into my mind. There was some guy in Twitch chat that was like, why are those guys wearing suits? This isn't a fucking job interview. This is video games. I was like, okay. All right. Like, but no, dude. Oh my God. Like explaining to my grandmother that had no idea what the fuck was going on, but she watched it. Like she watched your guys' game, Ranger. And she was like, those Rogue boys, they're really nice. They did very well. They did really well. And I was like, Grandma, did you watch the game? She's like, yeah, I did. That Vert, I don't know how to say the rest of it. He did really well. He did really good. It's like okay, Grandma.
That is always the hard one. I've completely given up.
What do you even say? What do you even say to him?
I don't.
I need help, Ranger. What do you tell them?
I stumble through it. It's painful. It's like my least favorite thing is trying to explain what esports is. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, we play video games and we get paid to do it, and we play in tournaments.
Think of me as the head coach of your football team.
I'm like Jerry Jones. That's me.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
Just not as rich yet, so
I have to do the Canadian comparison with my family. So this won't make any fucking sense to any of you, but a hockey night in Canada. So we're going back to Canada. We're going back to hockey. My two favorite things to talk about in this fucking Siege podcast. Hey, Vegas just won the other night. I can't remember who the fuck they played, but anyway. I have to compare myself to the commentators Jim Houston and Craig Simpson on Hockey Night in Canada for my family to even understand what the fuck it is I do. And the blank stares are always fun. I was actually explaining it to my ex-girlfriend because she saw one of my posts on Instagram or something. It was like, I don't know, we hadn't talked in like a year. And she DM'd me out of nowhere. It was like, hey, how things, what are you doing? And I had to try and explain it to her. And that, I think, was the worst conversation of all time. Because it was even more fucking awkward than when you just smile and nod at what obligatory ignorant thing your grandmother says about it. My aunt actually thought I was casting Fortnite. And I just kind of died inside. I just kind of died inside and curled up in a ball and went to the corner of the room with my fucking stuffing. And I was just like, I'm just gonna eat this in silence because everything I do is not respected. So I'm gonna go away now.
Oh my god.
It's tough, man. It's tough being able to explain to anyone.
You have no idea. I honestly think the coolest thing about this entire experience so far, especially because, as you both know, I'm really new to this.
Yeah, we know. Get over it.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, Ranger followed me on Twitter way before. He knew the come. All right, he knew the come up was there. It was coming. He knew. Anyways, I feel like half of that did not go through by my green blip. Okay, yeah. Ranger followed me on Twitter way before this happened, so he knew the come up was there. He already knew. Yeah. Anyways, my girlfriend actually went with me to the event, Ranger, which was very, very cool. She doesn't play video games. She's not nerdy at all. She's a nurse. That's what she does for a living. And I told her about this, and she said, I want to go. Can I go? And I said, yeah, I'll help you. I was like, I'll pay for half your plane ticket. That'll be part of your Christmas, whatever. Like, the hotel room is paid for, everything. If you want to go, you can go. She's like, okay. She had never seen Rainbow Six before in her entire life. And the first match that was casted was obviously Flint's match. It was Orgos versus the Evil Geniuses. And I sat down with her. And I just gave her the rudimentary, run through of like, okay, there's operators. They have abilities. They do stuff. They do stuff to help their team or to hurt the other team. That's what they do. Each one of them has a different ability, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And by the end of it, we got to the semifinals, and it was before I walked up on stage, walked up to the caster's booth, and I went to go give her a kiss goodbye, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I asked her, I was like, so how are you enjoying the tournament? She goes, actually, now that I'm here, I don't know if I like this more or if I like sports more in general, just being here. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, just like the crowd and everybody's just so into it. And it actually makes me really, really want to understand what's going on. I was like, if you had to pick somebody to win this whole thing right now, just based off of like watching, who are you enjoying watching? And like, who do you think is going to win the whole thing? And she goes, honestly, it's going to be really, really hard for me because I really like Thinking Aid because of his afro, and I also really like the Rogue guys because their logo is really cool. And I was like, well, that's going to be really hard for you. And she was like, honestly, whoever wins this match right here is going to win this whole thing. I was like, okay. And then went up, casted the whole thing, went back, watched Flynn cast the next game with you guys versus EVG and Rogue won. I was like, well, Siege better than I do, so that's good.
It's kind of true though. That semi was the real final.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think you and I actually had that exchange before I even went up there. You were like, "Good luck. This is going to be the final."
Yeah.
Okay.
We were kind of feeling that whoever won that game was going to beat EG as well, just based on what we saw.
I think in this case the West Coast was the gauntlet side of the bracket with SSG, and I mean I think a lot of it was kind of speculative as far as like what would Rise bring, because it was the first time they'd been seen without Vert, and ultimately SSG looked, I guess, kind of dominant against them, at least on one of the maps. But I mean, Bank was very close. Obviously, I think Rise probably should have won Bank. All things the same. And then with EG playing with their coach, obviously that's just not quite the same. It was kind of an EG versus C9 show from the beginning as far as what was going to happen.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I think I really want to ask this. So you tweeted out after the first day, after your game against Sinister, these are my favorite kind of timeouts, where you call TO up 3-0 over Sinister to tell Vert to go play Cav and rush the front fucking door.
I think what exactly had happened was we were up 2 or 3-0, and we were getting ready to go back into a basement attack. Mm-hmm. And I guess I can be more specific now. Basically, we had like strats using Glaz on that site, and then ways to work with that, because it's a frequently banned operator on that map, and we'd started off not using Glaz, and it was really funny because we'd been using Dokkaebi, and Tyler had just been in the lobby, and he'd missed like all 20 bullets with the DMR on dock peeking from elevators the round prior. And so when I called the timeout and I started to say Dokkaebi, Tyler pulled me aside after the match. He's like, I honestly thought you were about to tell me like never pick Dokkaebi again. But when I called the timeout and I said, hey Tyler, just like when we go back down there, stay on Dokkaebi. Like I don't want to show the Glaz stuff. There's a decent chance we'll have to play SSG on Bank. It's either going to be Bank or Clubhouse that they're going to pick. My money was that they were actually going to pick Clubhouse because like we'd banned it against Sinister, and then we'd been weak on it somewhere. I can't remember what. I think it was I think we'd scrimmed them, and they'd won like 7-1 on Clubhouse. It was before. It was like that was when I was talking about earlier. Like we'd had the bad day scrims, and we realized like okay, we need to actually like slow down and like build our strats for ourselves and spend some time doing that. Yeah. That was kind of that instant. We got absolutely eradicated by SSG, and like then we like sat ourselves down and like rebuilt every map to better fit what we wanted to do with Vert and stuff, and had like kind of like a long brainstorming session. And so I kind of had this idea. I went back and looked at that and thought through that, and I was like, I think they might actually go to Clubhouse, which is what we wanted. And in the end, that's where we like pushed it to map 3, was with a very close Clubhouse. Like we obviously they're a very good Clubhouse team, but it was like we were somewhere where we are very comfortable. And so it was either going to be that or Bank. So we just wanted to save the Glaz stuff because they're not a team that bans Glaz. They like to play it. For them, since we're playing Sinister on Bank. Yeah, because Rampy. So I called the timeout. That was the main purpose of the timeout, was to tell them to save a couple specific strats in case we wanted to use them against SSG. So, and then at the end I threw in, I said, hey, if we're up 5-0 or 4-1 at the half, Vert take Cav and push our main stairs. And he was like, are you sure? And then that was when at the end, I'd like quoted in the tweet, I was like, calls timeout, me, Vert, if we're up 5-0 or 4-1, take Cav. And then Vert, are you sure? Man, I like these kind of timeouts. So yeah, it was Vert who literally said that. He said, man, damn, I like these timeouts. That's fun. And then at the half, I just remember like he turned around and gave me this look. He's like, he like mouthed to me. He's like, are you sure you want me to pick Cav? And I was like, hell yeah. I gave him like the I gave him like the 2 thumbs up behind. He's like, here goes nothing. And then that's when he got the very loud screamed interrogation.
Yeah, probably one of the most infamous clips now. Yeah, that thing's got quite a fucking lot of views, and
I think about 20 of them were me the next night. Oh, that's good.
Oh, it was fun. I was getting into it. I was pretty hype on the Rogue Sinister game. I don't know. Because we went in expecting that it was gonna go that way. Like,
yeah, we didn't go into the event with like that match on our minds. Obviously, we had a little fun with it. We were comfortable throughout, and then like obviously the big one was, I mean, we were pretty sure we were gonna play SSG, like we more than likely. So that was really what we were. That was like the most worrisome match of the thing. Was we really didn't want to go out in semifinals of the first tournament with Vert at the U.S. Nationals, and that would have been another semifinal. But if there was any team that was going to beat us there, I think in our eyes it was going to be SSG. I think they're in our eyes probably the second best team in North America after us. I mean, granted, I think in our eyes we're almost always the best team in North America, but that's obviously you have a little bit of personal bias there.
I mean, hopefully, yeah. I don't think you go, yeah, well, we're pretty good. I honestly feel like we're a strong second. Like, no, you don't do that to yourself. You have to have.
I
that
mean,
confidence
we
to
know we know how capable we are as a team. Like
Mhm.
we know like where our ceiling's at, and there have been times obviously at events where we've punched in below what we think our ceiling is, and that's always disappointing. And I think we've done it a number of times this year where we think like we absolutely could have won that match. I think if you look back, like our invitational match against EG came down to a 1-second defuse. We lost 6-4, 6-4 at Paris. It's super close stuff. It can go anyway, and I think they were the better team if you look at the whole of 2018. But I think like right now going into 2019, this is with the roster we have. We've got all the pieces in place. This is our time to shine.
Yeah.
So I think if we don't bring home a major tournament victory in 2019, it would be a disappointment.
I would agree.
It would be my expectations is that we will bring home a Pro League Finals or major with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was extremely excited that the first LAN that I got to cast had you guys in SSG. Like, I was extremely excited. Like, the casters left up who casted the finals to the producers because we didn't know going in because Flynn was casting with somebody new. It's my first LAN. Obviously, Parker's going to do great. Flynn will do fine. All that kind of stuff. So we did not know who was going to cast the finals until after the first day, and I didn't know until the next day because I had to end up leaving. So I didn't know until the next day, and we end up walking in. Flynn goes, "Hey, we're going to be casting the finals." I was like, "All right, yeah, you guys have fun with that because that means I'm going to end up getting to cast SSG versus Rogue." Yeah. He's like, he goes, "I know, you son of a bitch."
Because we did an episode right before we left on the Tuesday. Where we did like whole predictions, and literally the entire episode was revolving around USN, and I was breaking down. So I predicted the entire thing to a T, which I was very proud of myself for. And the one game that I really wanted to cast, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to cast or watch more, but being in the moment, I really wanted to cast it once we found out who was going to be doing which games, was you guys against SSG. That was one of the games I don't know, I wanted to be up there. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to be in the moment. I wanted to be surrounded by that energy. I wanted to feel the ebb and flow. And then I got to do a finals. Can't really complain. It's my second finals. Technically fourth, but Canadian, fourth. Canadian nationals aren't real. That was my first finals with a Pro League team. There you go.
You heard it from a Canadian. Canada isn't real.
Dude, you heard it from the Canadian caster casting that shit. That shit ain't real. It's interesting. Yeah. I really wish they would do a whole USN based thing for the Canadian nationals because it's not great.
They might. You never know.
It's just not. It's too limited. There's just like USN. You actually get Pro League teams. You wouldn't get that in US nationals.
You mean Canadian nationals, but anyways, continue.
I know what you mean. Or I know what I meant. You know what I meant. We're on the same page. Close enough. I wanted to mention something is that on the episode after USN, you guys had talked about how you really wanted to cast together the two of you because you guys were split at the US Nationals. And I know obviously you guys are close friends and you guys have been kind of like coming up together through the scene. Like you guys did a lot of the Challenger League stuff together, like a lot of those casts. And you guys, neither of you have yet to be part of the Pro League, which is actually interesting. It was almost the opposite for me when not necessarily the opposite. I don't have any issue with you guys casting together. I've never actually really watched a ton of you guys casting together. I don't watch a lot of the Challenger League stuff with audio.
Hold on. 2 seconds. So
go ahead.
Flynn and I have never casted together before.
Have you never actually?
We've casted one thing. We've casted one thing before, and it was CCS qualifiers. And the entire time, it was just us memeing because it was literally, I think it was a Cloud9 versus some team that literally didn't mean anything. So,
gotcha. Well, then, either way, my basically what I wanted to say is that I thought that both of you paired incredibly well with the people that you did cast with, as far as kind of like the way you cast and like my feedback basically whenever I got to talk to anyone from ESL or like the Ubisoft, a couple of Ubisoft people was there, is they're like, hey, like I really hope you guys like keep with these like the casters here. Like I want to see them like doing online Pro League season, at Pro League finals, majors, whatever. Like these are like two prime duos. I think Stokes pairs actually really well with Parker, and then yourself. I think Blue's an incredible caster. I've been trying to been a proponent, I guess, of him getting into Rainbow and casting for a long time. So I'm glad he finally did it, and I think the results were spectacular. I think this is probably one of the best casted events as far as just like some of the matches are a contributing factor to that. Like it takes hype matches and hype casting together to make the perfect stuff, and we had some of those hype matches. But I think this was one of my like favorite events as far as I actually went back and just to listen to the casting after the fact and like played back the event, just focused on the casting on some of our matches just to hear how people sounded, and I thought it was some of the best for Rainbow. So I was super.
All right, Ranger, don't make me cry happy tears on the podcast again. I'm gonna just stop right there. No, but honestly, I got during your guys' match, Parker was had the call. He was casting. And I turned around and I looked out over the crowd and I looked down. I saw you guys over obviously on the right hand side and I saw SSG on the left. And like I just took it in for a second and I was like, holy fuck, I'm actually standing in Vegas doing this right now. Because it hadn't hit me yet until like it was actually Coastline. It was Coastline after that call I made, obviously for the Thinking Day days. I apologize. It was great though. It was awesome. Anyways, but I turned around, like looked out over the crowd and everything. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like this is absolutely insane. And then immediately after that, I completely forgot what Slashug's name was. So it's like all the adrenaline hit me and I looked up and I saw the SLA and I was like, what the fuck is his name? I was like, and then I was like, after that, that's why in the hallway, I was like, yo, Slash, I'm sorry I forgot your name, dude. He's like, dude, just fine. Don't worry about it. It's like, because I knew for a fact that you guys were going to go back to that VOD and be like, Stokes actually forgot Slash's fucking name. Okay. Like, yeah, but dude, that was a hell of a match. And honestly, I'm so happy that went to a third map, even though after like the second map, I was like, standing in these dress shoes, it's actually going to make my ankles bleed. But it's fine. I'm so happy that I got to cast that and that you guys won the whole thing because you guys damn well deserved it. So it was a fantastic event. And honestly, dude, thank you so much for saying that. I love like critical thinking about my cast and everything else helping me improve because obviously, as we've just stated, I am new to this at this tier. And like what Parker loved to say while we were there is like, yeah, Stokes has been doing this for about 3 months. Well, actually he's been doing it for about 1.5 years, but the only relevant point was about 3 months ago. It's like, okay, thanks, Parker. Yeah. But it was awesome, man. I went back and I casted a CCS match like a week later after that, and I was like, I really fucking hate casting from my bedroom now. So
yup. Get used to that, by the way. Get used to first of all hating casting for free from now on. That will grind your gears for the rest of your life now, as long as you do this. Because donating your time after doing it while getting paid, that's a whole different world. And then secondly, just there's no crowd, there's no hype, there's no energy. It's just a game. It's completely different at LAN.
Well, I hope you guys get the call to join the Pro League cast.
That'd be nice. That'd be really fucking nice. That would fix a lot of my money issues, first of all.
Yeah, but then you got to move to Poland, Flint.
Like I give a shit. I have no wife. I have no girlfriend. I have no family. I have no ties.
His first thing, I don't give a fuck. I don't have a wife.
Put me on the fucking plane. I do not give a singular fuck about moving to Poland. I'll move to Siberia if they ask me to.
Antarctica, just center by Antarctica.
Dude, McMurdo Bay? I'd be there all day, dude. I'd be the fucking... 100%. The most lit person in Antarctica.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Well, do we have anything else we would like to discuss? We've been going for a hot minute.
Any other topics on?
I think we've.
Did you even touch the topic list?
Yeah,
I don't even think you did.
We've gone through them all.
I thought you were just throwing them off the top of your head. I was like, damn, Flynn's really tossing this out here right now.
Well,
I mean, honestly, Haro, actually, you know what? Yo, Ranger, what got you into Siege? Like, where was the start for Siege for you?
Okay, that's an interesting one. So
we'll clean it up on the end of that.
Okay, that's an interesting one. So for me, I started playing at the, I want to say like closed beta or alpha, one of the two. I can't remember which anymore. But I came from playing Armor 3 in a community with NVK, Distilled, who was a year 1 season 1 pro, and a really close friend of Nate's, he was invitational and stuff, and he's probably he's much closer friends with Nate than he is with me. But at the time, I actually played a ton with those two guys, and then Young was part of from also obviously EG Young, was part of the same community, and I started playing Siege just casually with NVK and his buddy Distilled, our buddy Distilled, and they both started playing Pro League Year 1, Season 1. And they were on the team called Kingdom, and Distilled left, I think, partway through or at the end of that season and never came back to Pro League. And Nate stuck with it, and I just kind of played casually along, followed along the pro scene from the very beginning, and then I ended up getting into the competitive level through starting some stat stuff, and then ultimately getting picked up by this team was kind of like my first official foray in.
It's very cool. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, you already listened to the podcast, so we don't need to give you the same rigmarole over again. But basically, I was irrelevant until 3 months ago, so that's good.
Oh,
we got
know,
here.
Buddy.
That was the end goal. That was the end goal. We got here. Now we just got to keep it. So, and we got some really cool pictures at LAN if they never have you back again. So that's good.
There you go. As long as you got a Twitter photo, you're good, right?
Exactly.
That's what I heard.
That's all you need.
I mean, you have one of the best ones, dude. I need to take that same pose and have the cool light, and we're good. I
was taken by one of the guys at my org, actually.
Oh, nice.
At the Paris major, so.
Badass.
Yeah, I need some more pictures of me. That's basically all I do LAN events for is Twitter pictures and Instagram pictures. If you're out there and you have any pictures of me whatsoever, send them to me because I hoard them and I live off of them. They're my currency. And I just stash them all and then edit them and put them on Instagram.
Just like Parker, Flynn's only here for the clout.
Exactly. That's all I care about.
Exactly. Actually, when Flynn's Tinder matches asks for nudes, he just sends them pictures of him at LAN. That's what he does.
Totally understandable.
I mean, what's the difference?
They don't want the nudes anyway.
No, they don't. They just want the LAN pics, dude.
Dude, that's really. It's not the Wang pics, dude. It's the Lane pics. That's what it is.
He's there to prevent disappointment.
Exactly. Actually, my entire Tinder profile is pictures of me at LANs. So, yeah, I kind of need some more.
It all makes sense now.
Yep.
It all makes sense.
I only cast to get pictures from Tinder so that when I match with people, I never talk to them. Yeah, it's a cyclical, it's a very terrible cycle of pain. I think that's a good note to end on. I think that's a good note to end on.
Hold on. We gotta say this, and then we'll go.
Okay.
We go to play ranked last night, Ranger. And Flynn, at the very start of our first game, I'm like, Flynn, are you there? Flynn, and he's muted. It randomly picks him on operator. I think he gets like Rook. I'm like, okay, Flynn's dead to the world right now. And he unmutes his mic and he goes, "What the fuck do you want? I have 30 matches and I'm trying to talk to him all right now."
Exactly, dude.
Oh my God,
I actually got 5 matches while we were doing this, so I have some things to sort through right now. I'm on Tinder 24/7.
No wonder he wants to go to Poland. He needs a new pool to go from.
Exactly. I've exhausted the Toronto area. All right, the GTA. There's only like
struck
4
out in all of
here.
Canada.
Yeah, all of Canada hates me. I got to go find somewhere where they'll accept me. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Ranger, for coming on and inserting yourself into the podcast. Yes, we will have to do this again. Hopefully we can get one in mid-season. Depends on scheduling and stuff because the Super Month is going to be fucking chaotic as shit. But this was a lot of fun. There's a lot of good insight too. I think this is exactly kind of what we were targeting with the podcast, was to get a lot deeper on the competitive level. I actually saw your comment on the Reddit post that someone put up there for our podcast, and all of the comments were basically like, we need a podcast that does competitive stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, I exist. We exist. We do this shit.
That's good.
So thank you very much for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening as well. The viewership has spiked quite a lot lately. I don't know what that's from, whether it's just the Reddit post or just more people are telling more people about it. If you have a friend and they like comp, give them our podcast so they can shame you and say that your opinions and tastes are awful. And then they can yell at us in our Twitter DMs. It's basically all we're here for. We are soapboxes to be yelled upon.
Yeah.
Right on.
Oh, yeah. And also,
keep doing the podcast. So.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
I'm glad you enjoy it, man. It's honestly so much fun. Yeah. So especially like when, people like you, think it was Leon from Secret. Everybody else was like, hey, we didn't even know this existed. This is badass. We're like, okay. Like, Flynn and I just made this. We're like, if it takes off, that'd be really cool. But if we're getting like, 10 people and they're really enjoying it, that's badass too. If we can just improve somebody's day driving to work and they get some more Siege into their life, that's awesome. So it's been a fucking joy to make, and it's definitely paying off so far with just everybody and the positive feedback, as well as, we got Ranger on the podcast. That's really all I wanted. We can quit now, so it's fine. It's all good.
We made it to the Hall of Fame, boys. We can retire.
There it is, boys. Hall of Fame, Coastline. We're there.
I just got
now.
another match on Tinder. Let's go. Next episode, right, we'll have games. We'll have games to talk about. We're going to be watching the NA Pro League games on Tuesday, in which Rangers Team Rogue will be playing against Orwellus. I think that's the third match lit. It is lit.
Hashtag it is lit.
We made it through
also,
the dark
hashtag
winter.
B-Leaguers.
Yes.
We haven't said that hashtag at all, by the way.
No, we haven't.
Hashtag B-Leaguers, guys. If you guys want to ask us anything on Twitter, we will be checking that hashtag. So hashtag
Don't lie to them. Don't lie.
I'll check it. You won't, because you're lazy. Ranger will probably check it before you do, to be honest.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Now all you guys got to do is get a better guest and a better title in the podcast.
There you go. So yeah, next Tuesday, North America breakdown. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you. We'll see you in 4 days for the beginning of the season. Good night.